People of the world, welcome back to Send It Rising. You know what I'm going to say. I don't believe in coincidences. Chaos seems real. It's all an illusion. Every person that we meet in our life, we meet for a good reason. Yes, Kellen, but I have so many enemies. There's so many people in my life that I don't want in my life. Yes, I understand that. But at the end of the day, why are we here? We're here to learn. We're here to love. Fill your hearts with love. Eradicate the fear. You know you can do it. I often say with entrepreneurs that is precisely what you have to do if you want to move forward. Does the name Bob Proctor mean anything to you? How about Neil Patel? Do you know these folks? I don't know them personally, but our guest today has written ads for them. He's also written ads to the tune of $16 million in budget, which is absolutely insane. We're going to have a fantastic call. He's going to give me some coaching on how I can merge marketing with entertainment. How do you play that game? Nobody wants to listen to an ad. We are blessed to have him. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. The one, the only, Luke Charlton.
Quite an introduction. Thanks, Kellen.
Good to have you on the show. So what is the plan in regards to entertainment and marketing? Because nobody wants to listen to an ad.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Actually, how I kind of where I probably best to start where this kind of all started, right? So when I in 2013 I moved to London. I tried 1,000 different marketing strategies and I crashed and burned. And after 12 months, I had to come back home because I was broke and had no money. And gave me time to reevaluate and realize what I was doing was not working. And and that's when funnels were starting to be popularized, and I was trying like the tripwire and the webinar funnels and all these different complex things. And I'm like, I just need something simple. And I ended up on this guy's email list. His name's Ben Settle, and his whole thing is just send an email per day. And it's what he said in an email. It's like, look, if you want to get clients, just send an email per day, just one email per day, and just build your list and send an email per day. So I'm like, you know what? That's the simplicity I'm looking for. I think I can do that. I think I can send one email per day. And so that's what I focused on. But the problem was in the beginning that, I was kind of going about email like a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners that I see today, is that we spend a lot of time creating great content, right? We spend like 1 to 2 hours on their emails, and I was the same. And I'd spend all this time on an email and I'd send it out. And what I noticed is that when people first came onto my email list, they'd be very engaged, right? But then that engagement would drop off and the open rates would go down quite quickly. And that's quite frustrating because you're spending all of this time sending them great content that's transforming their lives, but they're just not paying attention. And then you look over at things like how much time people are spending on Netflix, and that's what I was doing. I was like, well, they're spending like 2 hours a day on social media. They're spending an hour a day watching YouTube. They're they're on Netflix and all the streaming stuff. As that was when that was starting to become bigger as well. And so I took a step back and like, how are these companies engaging their audience for hours a day, and yet I am struggling for them to read my 5-minute email and turn that into clients, right? Well, the answer is obvious, is that content is entertaining and our content is kind of boring in a way. It's like how-to content. Even though it's transforming their life, it's not as engaging as something like social media or Netflix. So that's when I'm like, well, how do I combine that, right? How do I use entertainment and also, but also teach them, right? Because they're on my list to learn how to get more clients. How do I combine those two? And that's when I, what led me to testing a few different things. But one of the things that I settled on, and it's kind of like what Netflix does and what a lot of TV shows and what movies do, right? What do they do to engage the audience? They tell stories. And the great thing about stories is, ever since birth, say 12 months to about 12 months old, we have been taught to communicate with stories. Like most of our communication, like what I'm doing right now, I'm talking and I'm telling a story. And that's how we are genetically wired to communicate. And the great thing about stories is because we're kind of used to it, it comes natural to us. So I just started telling stories in my emails. And these stories are not just personal stories, right? So some were personal, some were client stories. but some were kind of news stories. Like a great example I told the other day, I've got an email here. So I was on this website, this mainstream media website from Australia, and the main headline was a woman hospitalized for refusing to fart in front of her boyfriend, right? So um, I wrote an email about that, and then I tied that in with what I'm selling, right, which is helping coaches and service professionals get more clients. So, and we can go into more about this in a second. So, I was pulling kind of stories from all over the place, and that's when my audience started to become more engaged, and that's when my open rates, didn't kind of crash and burn. They kind of stayed more consistent. More people were opening them. I get emails all the time, people writing in saying, "Hey, look, I love your emails. Your emails are not like any I've read before." So they've in the first and foremost, they're entertainment focused because, we were just talking about this before, kind of like, your best clips are those kind of more entertainment focused clips, right? So people are starved for entertainment. They love to be entertained. They want to be, they want to feel happy. So with your marketing, I'm obviously telling the story in the context of writing emails, but it can apply to any type of marketing. Creating a podcast episode, starting with a story, just like we are now. You've got a YouTube show. If you have a blog post, right? Whatever medium you deliver your content. If you start with something that's entertaining, it's going to get a lot more engagement. But then how do you transition from from the bit of entertainment to what it is that you're actually, the reason why they're on your list, right? To learn about getting more clients or getting more dates or fixing their stomach issues or whatever it is. Well, that's where it does take some thinking, but you get better at it. But my framework is this: tell a story. What's the lesson of that story? And it can be any lesson. Like that email that I spoke about, woman hospitalized for refusing to fart in front of her boyfriend. There could be a dating lesson in that. There could be there's a marketing lesson. That's my one. There could be a sales lesson. There could be a weight loss lesson. So there's a lesson out of any story, whether it's personal, client. You just have to do some thinking. And then once you kind of talk about the lesson, then it's very easy to have a call to action, to your, whatever it is, your product or your services, right? Because now you're on topic, right? So story, lesson, close is the framework. But, and you can use that for a podcast episode as an example. It doesn't have to be emails. I just use it to teach in the context of emails. But by combining entertainment with the content, you'll find that you'll get a lot more engagement. People will actually love receiving your marketing message, and that's what I found. Like people love reading my emails. I don't know how many lists you've been on where you actually look forward to the emails. I'm not on many. I think there's one or two people that I'm on the list of that actually enjoy reading the emails because they take a more entertainment focused approach, just like me. They just tell stories. So that's kind of like the framework that's the framework that I use the most in with my emails and my content: story, lesson, close. I do it the same. I've got a podcast now I'm about to launch. I've recorded a few episodes and I use that same framework in that podcast as well.
I love it. So 1 email per day. I like the consistency. That's always
Yeah.
strong. Seeing dropping engaging numbers is always terrifying. So you got to find a way, for that to reverse.
Yeah.
How to as boring. I like that because YouTube, people just YouTube it, man. It's like I
Yeah.
don't need you to send me an email about how to unclog my drain. I'll just go on YouTube and how to it and get it. But that's what most plumbers do. Taking content that's relevant, like woman hospitalized, story, lesson, call to action. It's great. I think it's a really strong strategy. It's like anything. It's like chess. You can say, "Oh, well, you want to dominate the center and checkmate your opponent." It's
Yeah.
easy to say that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the real world comes in, and you actually got to fight those fights. So let's talk a little bit about that. So story, lesson, close. I love it.
Mm.
I'm gonna probably make a change in my own life in
Yeah.
regards to how I perceive TikTok and Reels and this sort of thing. I'll experiment with that formula.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Um, what does it look like for a client? Give me an example, like a case study.
Yeah. Okay. So what I could do is, just to make it a bit clearer, is I could go through an example here. Okay. So like, as in, I'll read off an example email maybe, and then I'll talk about how it works for a client. This is actually a good. This is a YouTube example, right? So the title of this email is called "Silver Slayer's Guide to Never-Ending Email Content." Okay, here we go. Silver Slayer is a name you've probably never heard of. He's a guy who runs a YouTube channel. He has 53,000 subscribers, and his topic of choice, silver, of course. He doesn't talk gold. He doesn't talk stocks. He doesn't talk real estate, just silver. Silver news, silver market analysis, where to buy good silver. It's nothing but silver. And what's even crazier is he puts out a video every single day, and that video goes for about 20 to 30 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes about silver. How the heck can someone produce so much content about silver? It doesn't matter. What matters is that if this guy can produce that much content every single day about silver, an inanimate object, then you can send out a short 300 to 500 word email about your topic. One of the biggest objections I get when coaches tell me, when I tell coaches all you need to do to get consistent clients is send one daily email, is where am I going to get enough content for an email every single day? Again, if some guy on YouTube can put out 20 to 30 minutes of content every day about silver, which is equivalent to 2,000, 4,000 words, then you can do a short email about your topic that has far more things to talk about. For example, how many different benefits does your program have? If you had a long enough brainstorm, I'm sure you could come up with at least 100. Well, each one of those benefits could be its own email. How many benefits does silver have? Like 2. So the point is, there are many benefits that are produced with your service, and therefore way more emails you could write. Another thing to think about, Silver Slayer is always talking about new things he's learning about silver and its up and down movements in the market. This is a great source of new content and means he'll always have something to say, at least until he stops researching or he dies. Personally, I think I'm continually learning about marketing and selling. It's my passion, and because of that, I always have something to say. I always have new content to send you. The same will happen for you too. You'll never run out as long as you're continually kind of learning about your topic. With that being said, and then I go into the close. Right? Our brainstorming benefits is just one way I show you how to come up with email content. There are 21 different ways that'll help you create hundreds of different ideas in my program. If you're interested, book a spot on my calendar here, kind of thing. So that's one thing where I was just on YouTube. I'm like, wow, this guy's talking about silver every day for like 20 to 30 minutes. I'm like, that's really interesting. So I told a story about it. So the place that I get content from is anything that's that interests me or that makes me angry. Usually that's a good place to start is something that sparks an emotion within you, right? This is what I tell my clients. Anything that sparks an emotion with you, that makes you frustrated, happy, sad, that makes you laugh, like that farting one a few minutes ago. Anything that sparks an emotion within you is the recipe for a really good story, because that's going to spark an emotion within those readers or listeners or watchers that resonate with you. And one of the benefits of doing this is kind of a big benefit, but like when I get on the phone with a prospective client, like a prospect, I talk with people that resonate with me. So I work with really, really great clients because they've been reading my emails. They kind of have similar views on life, and they laugh at the same things. And so just by the fact that I'm choosing things that I like to talk about, that kind of attracts similar people to me. So it's a really great benefit as well. But it's that simple. You kind of just pick something that interests you, that sparks an emotion, and then you talk about it. And you just, there's not kind of some magic storytelling framework. You just start at the beginning of the story, just like you would just pretend you're talking to a friend or a family member. And that's what I tell my clients. So does that make sense?
I love it. I love it because as you were talking about the Silver Slayer, I was seeing his YouTube channel. I was thinking about him and what he does. There was this great Ram Dass quote. I don't know if you know this dude. He's like a spiritual teacher. I won't go into his history. Longtime listeners of the show have heard me talk about him many times. But anyway, he's standing in front of a group of people, and he's talking about the most deep spiritual enlightenments that he learned by having all these gurus in India and meditating in a cave without eating for months and taking a bunch of drugs and doing everything that you could imagine on this quote spiritual path. And he's dropping all these bombs on this audience, and there's this old lady in the front, and she's just nodding along with everything he's saying, like, right, yep, yep, got it,
Yep.
good. And he's like, what is up with this lady? I've got to talk to this lady. And so after the speech ends, he goes up to her and he's like, that was like everything I had. That was all the haymakers, all the deep understandings. He's like, how do you? It seems like you knew all that stuff. She's like, yeah. She says, I crochet. So the
Uh,
point is that it like there are infinite ways up a mountain,
yeah.
right? And as
Yeah.
long as you're like, could it be silver? Sure, sure. Silver Slayer, why not? Works
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
One path is just different than the other path. There's like the straight up path, which is scary, is the ooh, like, and then there's
Mm.
the easier, more gradual path. There's a million ways. You go up and down, left and right. So yeah, I really resonate with what you're saying. And my take home is that I'm very good at the story portion, but I feel I have an internal piece of me that says don't be a sleazy sales guy. Don't my sister does not have that. She's
Yeah.
very successful on social media and she is constantly selling her stuff and just she's
Okay.
unabashed.
Yeah. I can help you with that. So, um, let's say, you start telling a story, whatever that story is, right? And this is obviously for everyone listening. Um, what you want to do once you've told that story, you just think, okay, what's the simple way of thinking about it is like, what's the principle? Like, what's the marketing principle? What's the sales principle? What's the dieting principle? What's the date? Just think about it. And sometimes for me, like, I don't even, like, I'll say that's a great story. What's the marketing principle? And I don't know, like, I have to kind of put that story to the side and just think about it for a day or so. And that's okay. You can do that. Um, and that actually helps you when you go down to write the email or produce a bit of content. I like to think about my emails before or my podcast just so I get that clarity on like what do I want to say here. But yeah, just think of it as a principle. Like what's the core message here or the principle? Okay. So then you transition from that story. You kind of talk about the principle, and then my emails, like pretty much every single email, and for those that probably the easiest thing to do is if you just jump on my list, you'll see my emails, how I do my daily emails. It's very simple. But the way that I transition from that core principle, like the bit of the lesson, right, to the call to action is I just say, with that being said, okay, so there's not some hard pitch. It's not some, hey, buy, or, this offer is going to go away. There's definitely a time and place where you want to use urgency and scarcity. But my regular daily emails are just, hey, with that being said, if you're struggling with getting your Facebook ads to convert, right? If I'm talking about Facebook as that particular email, I might say that. With that being, so I transition with the line, literally, I say, with that being said, in pretty much every single email. So that's a really easy way to transition to your close. And then, I guess I said, you just do a soft call to action. With that being said, if you need help with getting more dates, well, that's what I help with. Go, let's have a chat. See if my program is a good fit for you. It can be as simple as that. But at the end of the day, like they're on your list or wherever it is, listening to your podcast, watching YouTube to get help. Right? That's why they're tuning in. And so if you withhold that help, it's kind of like if you were to go into a pharmacy and you said to them, hey, I've got this really bad rash on my elbow. Can you help me? And then they're like, well, no, we're not actually giving out anything today. It's a content only day. So here's some pamphlets. Maybe come back in a couple of days and then we'll sell you something. They're like, no, I need help right now. It's like, no, we're just going to send you some how-to content. So it's kind of like that, right? So if you have the soft call to action, if they're not ready, they don't have to take you up on that. But there are definitely going to be people in your audience that want help and are looking for help. So it's your prerogative, right? It's the reason why you're in business, to help them. So if you're afraid of like selling them, then that's kind of probably more of a mindset thing that we need to that you need to think about, right? Because you're there to help them. So that's all selling is. It's just helping
Yeah,
them.
I'm right there, and we're gonna run out of time. We could talk for hours. But for me, it's that the reels are what are getting the most attention, and they're 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
And so it's like you got to catch them right away.
Yeah.
So I barefoot longboard, right? I have
Yeah.
to memorize whatever I'm going to say. So I pan up for
Yeah.
my bare feet. I'm in a suit jacket, and I deliver some piece of news,
Yeah.
and then I can usually get it done in about 35, 40 seconds. And so maybe there is like a window of 10, 15 seconds, but we're talking 10, 15 seconds. I have to like hit them with that. With that being said, da 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 da
That's
da
it. That's all
da
you
da
gotta do.
da
It's
done.
one line. So mine is without like I might expand, but I might say like, um, my main line, my main offer is one sentence. So it's like, with that being said, if you need help getting more clients, if you'd love to
Right,
do that, if you need help getting more clients, I'll show you how to do that by sending one email per day. Go to book here,
right,
right? So it's like maybe a couple of sentences. So you've got,
right,
that's the core offer, and I might expand on that. I might talk about Facebook ads, like, hey, I also help with Facebook ads in my program. It just depends on what I'm talking about in that particular email. But at the end of the day, it's like the main thing is I'll help you get clients by sending one email per day.
I love
So you
that.
have your core offer, and then you can expand on that. But for you, if you're doing these clips, you might just stick to this really short core offer for it, those short clips. Makes
This
sense.
is
So you do
good. I
maybe a
like this.
shorter
I'm
story,
I'm
less
gonna
than
have to,
20.
yeah, I'm gonna have to think of what that is. I don't know if it's more customers, help with marketing. Like there's a word, but I need to use that. I need, because I start with people of the world, and then I go into my thing. So I have like an opener tagline that people are familiar with.
Mm,
I don't have a closing tagline that people are familiar with. And that's my
yeah.
big takeaway
You
from
need to
this.
have a call to action. All your clips need to have a call
You're
to action.
absolutely right. I
Yeah.
agree. YouTube.com/Send Rising. If you folks are listening on iTunes or Spotify, like most do after the fact, we love you. Thanks so much for swinging by the show. TikTok.com/Send Rising. If you want to see me barefoot longboarding, our guest today, Luke Charlton, is killing it. You should definitely check him out where he is going to be, which is LukeCharlton.com. That's LukeCharlton. Again, CHARLTON, LukeCharlton.com. Is there any other place that they should reach out to you, Mr. Charlton?
Yeah, if they're a service professional, have a free guide called the 9emailoffers.com. So just the number 9emailoffers.com. So it's called the 9 email offers that will get you clients for free. So just go through that guide, look at all the different email offers, send some out to your list and see how you go. It's designed to get you more sales and appointments, and it's free. So yeah, just go to 9emailoffers.com.
Send it rising. No coincidences. What a great interview. Thank you very much, Luke Charlton. We'll see you next time.